most people know, but I'm still surprised how many people don't know that if they're suffering from a physical malady, it could very well have, often does have an emotional component. And so, we are energetic beings, and our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy. And in our culture, we just don't express emotion.
Are you ready to unveil wisdom and insights beyond conventional healthcare and nutrition? Welcome to the Radiant Health and Wellness Show. Throughout each episode, we explore perspectives designed to empower you and activate your radiant health, wellness, and vitality from within as you make your body your ally on your journey to optimal well-being. I'm your host, Dr. Beata Harasim, specializing in gut health for digestion, weight loss, anxiety, fertility, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. Make sure to click the subscribe button and share with anyone you think would benefit. These episodes are for educational purposes only, and please consult with your physician or a practitioner before making any changes. Let's go. Your journey to radiant health starts here. So welcome everyone to this next episode of the Radiant Health and Wellness Show. My name is Dr. Beata Harasim, and I'm a holistic and integrative doctor specializing in 4 main areas of weight loss, fertility, prenatal and postnatal care, digestion, food allergies and gut health, and anxiety, overwhelm, and burnout. And on today's session, we are going to talk about reclaiming harmony and releasing dissonance with frequency. And with us, we have our special guest, Sharon Buck. She is an intuitive sound alchemist, and we are going to dive deep into different frequency tools and practices, and she's going to share her magic with us. So welcome, Sharon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Beata. It's a pleasure.
Of course. So I'd love to have you kind of introduce us to what you do with sound and frequency and maybe how you got started with all of this.
Well, I always like to give people a background of that, and I keep restructuring how I say this, but I'm a professional musician by background. But I'm realizing more and more as I do the sound healing work, which I've been doing for some years, is that I've always been doing sound healing in one shape or other, in using sound to help people heal, whether it was church music or singing a song at a funeral or singing songs for family or even singing to animals. I remember I have a memory of singing to my grandpa's cattle, and I used to sing to the animals, and I think it's just been part of me all my life, as far back as I can go. I know I got proper training as a child. My parents saw that I had a gift in that area, so I did piano and voice lessons at age 6 and did that for decades, and then turned more to professional performing. But this is the part that really struck me, is that vibration has always been a part of that. And I remember, I'll never forget the first time I pressed the key on a pipe organ. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is like the whole universe speaking. It just blew me away. The power of that one press of the key and all the air blowing through the pipes. It caught me. And it's just an example of how vibration, again, singing vibrates our bodies, stimulates the vagus nerve. So I've always been intrigued with that and used to teach singing. So this long thread of then kind of the aha of energy work, which I should have known. I came to the Pacific Northwest from central Canada, and here are all these, kind of woo things and modalities and experts in different fields that I'd never heard of in holistic health, and then being exposed to Reiki, and right away grabbing onto that and becoming a Reiki master with that, which led to biofield tuning, becoming a practitioner, certified practitioner, and just got advanced training in that as well. And sound healing using singing bowls, which again I gravitated to immediately. I think when my parents first heard me play the bowls, they said, "Hey, it reminds me of those big church bells in Europe." And I didn't even think of that, but I grew up in Germany for a few years as a child, and definitely you can't be anywhere without hearing church bells. So it's just a fascinating little backstory, I think, to why I'm doing what I'm doing, and when people tear up, you've hit something, and yeah,
Beautiful.
people can laugh too, but
Right.
they're often
And I
moved.
think it's important to mention that really, when we think about sound and frequency, it is all around us and it is in ways that we may not recognize. And so I think the majority of our listeners have teared up to a song before, just because of the frequency and the sound coming through, or again, like you mentioned, there's that memory, there's that frequency and vibration of those church bells, or like the organ. I love how you use that example as well. And at the same time, you mentioned, universe, which is really one song. We are all one song. We're all just different notes playing in this grand harmony. And so
Hmm.
it is, we are part of this. It is part of us. And I love that you're able to, you've been able to, it's not really different modalities, but use different aspects of this frequency and sound in your work and integrate it all. And so for those who may not be as familiar with sound therapy and sound healing and some of these modalities that you did mention, the sound baths and the biofield tuning, would you be able to go in depth a little bit more about those and maybe how they're different?
Sure, I'll do my best. I think it's important to remember that everything is vibrating in our universe, from the smallest particles to the whole thing, the whole enchilada, all of the universe. And that sound is basically a pressure wave through the air. And so our nervous system converts that sound into electrical signal. So we are electrical beings, and anything that has electricity going through it has an electromagnetic field. And so we're walking electromagnetic fields, and so is every creature. Anything that has electricity going through them. And so this is how we, among other things, resonate, quite literally, vibrate to and attune to frequencies. And there are the audible tones, and then the inaudible tones to our ear. We know dogs can hear higher pitches than we can. But we are translating all of this, whether we're aware of it or not. And same thing goes with other people. If we're with people that rub us the wrong way, what is that, right? What is this electricity meshment, whatever mess going on? What is this? And I like to think of it as two bubbles kind of intersecting. So when I've worked with, you know, like a mother or daughter, or a parent, and sibling, we pick up the energetic imprint of what they've got together, and oftentimes it'll translate into ancestral stuff, which is maybe not quite answering your question directly, but that is the specific part of what I do with biofield tuning, which is using tuning forks in the energy field, which is about 6 feet away from the center of our body. So we have this energy and these energy wheels or chakras going through. Most people know about those, but they line up with the endocrine system, so that's tied into our organs and how they function. And then we're working with a tuning fork, and actually can pick up disturbances in the field. So the tuning fork frequency intersects with our frequency, basically, and anywhere in our timeline that some disruption has happened, there has been an energetic imprint that we are interacting with. And you can feel it, you can hear it, even the clients I'm working with. And by the way, this works beautifully virtually, it's not just in person. People are blown away by that, but it's the same deal. And so you're feeling that, and then you basically are releasing that with a tuning fork. It can be very powerful. You're bringing that released energy back into the center of the body, which then, of course, kind of just moves through through the center of the body, and to be recycled. And a lot of people feel the main thing that most everybody feels after a session with me or with biofield tuning is that they feel lighter. They look lighter. They feel less heavy. They don't feel like the world is on their shoulders. They one client just yesterday said their husband noted that they were humming around the house and that they never hummed. So it's pretty amazing how this works. And so biofield tuning is very specific that way. With singing bowls, I'd say it's a little more general, although I've had some very specific results as well. Just we weren't just not particularly intending anything, um, but the vibrations work on people in different ways, and so I've had people respond very, very strongly to some of the singing bowls. It might be a personal preference, I don't know. But the vibrations of the different frequencies of the bowls and the bowls interact with each other. So I'd say there's more relational aspect with singing bowls per se than tuning forks. There can be some with tuning forks too. But the vibrations bounce off of each other and they change, they shift depending on who we're working with, what we're working with the energies. And again, this works virtually. So yeah, I'm trying to see if I answered your question or not on
Yeah,
that.
no, you did perfect. I mean, that was a little bit of a tough question, I will admit. You did great.
Throw me into the fire.
Right? No, I mean, that's perfect because we really are. We're energetic beings. We're electric beings. We are vibration. We are frequency. And that is the main thing. That's why these things work. That's why we do feel a difference. I've experienced both. I've experienced Shannon's sound baths before, and they are absolutely wonderful with her retreat that we're going to talk about in a couple minutes as well. I haven't had biofield tuning with you yet, but I plan to, because it is the feeling that you get and the shift that you get is undeniable. And so just like you mentioned, there are different effects on different people. So when I did Sharon's first retreat the first time, I was so calm. Like I felt like there were just waves of calmness, like washing over me. I think I fell asleep a couple times during it just because I was so relaxed. And I mean, I slept so great that night. I was like deep sleep almost automatically. And then I was like, you know what? I might have been sleeping through parts of that. Let me do it again. And so I did it again, and it was a different time of day. I was in a different place. It was a couple of days later, and I was so energized afterwards. I felt like I could concentrate. I could, kind of just really focus and do my tasks without kind of this resistance and this kind of procrastination happening that typically does for many of us, right? And so it just attests that it was the same retreat. Nothing was different with it, but my energies and my frequencies were different that day and in that time and in that situation. And so therefore I received different healing, and I received a different response and a different experience. And that's why each of us is going to have a different experience as well when we do go. And I highly recommend, again, checking out that retreat. We're going to talk more about it in a couple minutes, but I just wanted to share my experience because I think that would be a great example of how different it can be. And same thing for the biofield tuning.
Yeah, and I did do some tuning in that retreat. It wasn't a lot, but there is some there that was intended for whoever and whatever was going to be experiencing that. So it will bring up different feelings and shift you in different ways. That's the beauty of this work, I think. And wherever we're locked in at that point, and of course we're constantly changing, right? I mean, we never wake up with the same body. Our cells are always cleaning. We're shedding off the old cells and growing new cells. So it's kind of a neat way, along with neuroplasticity, to think of our bodies and our brains being, we can be ever refreshed. We can start anew. There's less of a sense of this is the same old, same old. This will always be. I think I love that about this work. And even for the most severe situations, and I have worked with that, it is amazing to be able to turn the page and see, wow, this is possible.
Yeah. And, you mentioned a couple different reasons to use, different kind of modalities, right? Whether it be a sound bath or biofield tuning. Would you be able to talk more about what are some of the conditions or potentially, situations that would be helpful if there was anything specific? Because I know you've worked with a wide range of mental health and hospice and different conditions. And also you mentioned generational trauma. So I wasn't sure if there was a way to, again, I'm hoping not to drop another super question on you, but a way to describe that, or what are some of the reasons that someone would consider getting either a tuning or experiencing sound healing?
Well, I think it depends on one's, your own intuitive pull, because the people who tend to work with me are the ones that said, wow, I heard about this, or I read this book, and I just absolutely want to do this work. They're not afraid to dig deep. And I think sound baths are a little safer, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It can be very calming, but I did have a case where somebody came in, they thought they were getting a sound bath, and when they found out they were getting a tuning, they were not interested. They didn't want to be stirred up. Their pot was plenty stirred. The beauty of biofield tuning is, well, any of this work is it's not re-traumatizing. It is very non-invasive. So you really can't do much wrong. There are some contraindications if you have active cancer, for example, or if you have a heart condition or pregnant, those things are contraindicated, depending on what the situation is. But I think most importantly, it's I've worked with anything from people with chronic, and we're talking chronic digestive issues, to autism, to severe mental health condition. I would say also somebody who's completely having very difficult health symptoms on the one side of their body. And it's very interesting as we're working that everything that is blocked is on the opposite side of the body. So that's always interesting. And the right side is usually masculine, the left side is usually feminine, in terms of biofield tuning anyway. But I think that's how I see it. Sound baths are very calming. And remember, healing, as you know, happens best in that relax, rest, and digest place of where our nervous system is calm. And in fact, in biofield tuning, we always start with grounding at the feet and grounding, connecting at the head to make sure the ends of our batteries are charging. Again, it's not surprising that so many people have been through so much the last few years, not to mention the pandemic. I mean, there's just been so much collectively that I've spent several sessions just getting the person grounded and connected. So it's very difficult to do any cleanup work if you're not actually connecting, charging, where this connection between heaven and earth. And so, and then a lot of people don't even realize it. They don't even realize that half of their energy is going to all of this background anxiety.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's, great that you mentioned that before. For those who maybe aren't so sure about this work, or maybe, are new to it, a sound bath is a wonderful way to get a taste of it. It is one of my favorite modalities because you just receive. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to think about anything. And like Sharon mentioned, it's not re-traumatizing. So I've personally had tears come up. I don't know about what. I was releasing something was ready to be integrated and processed and let go. But you typically won't have a re-traumatization or anything like that. And so it's a beautiful way of just allowing yourself to receive, to regulate that nervous system, get into that healing state of rest and digest, and just relax for a little bit, which again, in this society that we have nowadays, many of us may have a challenge with that, where resting and relaxing may be foreign. And so this is a great way to ease into it, where you are just allowing your body to be, which we need to do more of, quite honestly, in my opinion. We need to just be and let go of the doing quite often. And that, again, it's all connected when we talk about holistic and integrative health and wellness. That is one of the underlying root causes of most disease, is not allowing us to be, not regulating our nervous system so we can heal.
Right, absolutely. And that whole piece of the emotional and the physical, which most people know, but I'm still surprised how many people don't know, that if they're suffering from a physical malady, it could very well have, often does have an emotional component. And so, we are energetic beings, and our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy. And in our culture, we just don't express emotions. How many times have we wanted to cry? I mean, I've been in situations where I've burst out crying in the grocery store. And luckily, there were people that were understanding and even gave, one person gave me a hug, which was really sweet. But oftentimes it's not the case, right? Where you just feel like, wow, this is not okay. And we've been so, you know, trained in that way to not express. And that's just not healthy. And so when you think about over the years or decades, right? And the older you are, the more of this has been happening unless you've been consciously working to dissolve some of that, to untangle those knots. It's been a buildup. So and then people are surprised why things aren't fixed in 5 sessions. Well,
Right.
how many years has this been going on? How many years have we denied our love, or hidden our light, or decided we weren't good enough, or we're judging others instead of loving them. I mean, there's just so many aspects to this, and it's deep, deep work usually. And yeah, like you say, um, all you really need to do is receive. Again, I've had clients that haven't said a word in their session, and they still have a powerful session.
Right.
So
Right.
there's
That's the thing.
it's a lot.
Interaction isn't required. Like
Yeah.
you just absolutely. And I know you have a couple, a bowl and some forks as well. Would you be able to do a little bit of a demonstration for us, for especially for those who haven't experienced it, but for everyone, just to take this moment to receive and just feel those vibrations, hear the sound, and see
Yeah.
what you experience.
Sure. I decided to pick, I just intuitively drawn today to my Morph Bowl. It's called a Morph Bowl because it literally was morphed, it's morphed pieces of broken glass, um, that have come together. I think it's rather symbolic, are the broken pieces of ourselves put back together, perhaps in a new way. It's, as you can see, it's a beautiful bowl, and I've got two different strikers. Some people like this one, and some people do not. But I'll show you in a minute.
Beautiful.
So I don't know what you experienced, but I already felt my breathing lower, felt it go lower, felt it much
Mhm.
more
Yeah,
release.
I think I just kind of leaned back into the chair and again was allowing the chair to support me instead of trying to sit on my own in a way. And that first strike, I felt my entire body just vibrate, which is just amazing. Again, that frequency.
Yeah, getting back into our bodies because let's face it, we're in a pretty much of a thinking culture. So for me too, that I've noticed my thinking mind went kind of took a little holiday there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I had a little nap, right? And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with naps during any of this work because our bodies are built that way to we that's how we heal. We heal in our resting state. That's our immune system kicks in a little bit more when we're resting, as you know. So the magic happens when we sleep. So people sometimes say, "Oh, I fell asleep during that." That's okay. Just see what happens. You know, there still can be a lot of things that shift.
Exactly.
Did you want tuning forks too? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'd love to have our audience experience all of them if you have them.
Well, I don't have, I mean, I have a lot. So I kind of picked my favorites and the ones that I think people might enjoy. So first of all, we activate always a tuning fork here to make the sound. This is one that you actually there's some that you can hear and there's others that are not audible. So this one, you can see the times vibrating. This is 174 hertz. And this one we use a lot for combing the field, working the energy knots. This is kind of the workhorse for biofield tuning. So just notice how that sits with you, whoever's listening today, or so I kind of feel a mixture of calm and agitation when I listen to that one, which is interesting because it does stir the pot a bit. This is a weighted fork. As you can see, it's got little weights on the end of it. So you will not be able to hear this one, but you'll still see the tines vibrate. So I tap to activate so you can see the tines vibrating. But again, this is frequency, and frequency, just like radio waves, it's still working on us. So virtually or in person. I happen to have a little boot at the end, so if you have an in-person session, you can actually vibrate on the body, which is really cool. Pulsing. It's also great for facial toning
Mhm.
or any toning. So I use that. Um, that's one of the weighted forks. Here is one of the newer ones. This is a 222. Um, so
Something about that one. I can't quite put my finger on it, but
well, it's brand new, and a lot of people say it has a calming effect. So it is kind of had that sense of cool water to me. Um, this one is it's got this is one of the longest tuning forks. Well, this is the longest one I have. This is the 144, and this is part of the Fibonacci series. If you know anything about that, that's the sacred geometry of the earth. So everything is geometric, like you know, petals in the flower, seeds, human beings. Again, these things are subtle, so it'd be interesting to know what people experienced with that one.
Yeah, if anyone would like to go ahead and put your comments below, we can't see the comments right now through Zoom, but we'll be able to go back, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there. We'll be able to answer them afterwards. And again, we'd love to hear your insights. And this will be on YouTube eventually as well. So if you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and put the comments below as well. That one, I have to say, Sharon, was very calming for me.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Yeah. So what I discover oftentimes with the 174, which is our workhorse tuning fork, that some people have a kind of an alarm reaction, especially in the beginning. And if that's the case, I right away switch. And again, I sense this switch to another fork, and it may be the 144, the one I just shared with you. It may also be another fork. Let's see if I've got this fork here. This is a 144 or 417. What am I saying? So I just felt an energy release with this one, which is interesting.
Mhm.
This always has a sense of lightness to it, and I often use that with people if they're feeling super stressed. And then here's another one, the 528, which is known as the love fork or the DNA fork frequency, I should say. We use this usually towards the end of the session to bring it all together. Again, if we hit a really turbulent spot in somebody's field, um, or I'm working over their body and it just feels like they need literally some TLC, I'll bring this fork out. So remembering we're in training the body and the brain um, to the frequency. So if you're, say you're in fight or flight, and then you hear this frequency, you're bringing your frequency into that in alignment with this. That's the other part of the work. So, and the same thing with singing bowls. So if we're off, when I was first exposed to singing bowls, I remember I wept. It's like, again, what was that about? But it just had that feeling of touching something so much deeper than myself. That was calming and healing. Like there are just no words. I think that's what I love about sound and music, and I get emotional about it when I talk about it because it does touch something very deep in us that we all know, but cuts across all barriers, all languages, all cultures, and
Absolutely.
creatures, I believe. Yeah.
And actually, it just came to mind, maybe it would be worth mentioning what are some ways that we can experience release. So, Sharon mentioned, and I mentioned tears and crying sometimes will happen during, I believe it was was it the 417 fork that you did, right? Through that one, I actually experienced a cavitation or a sensation of like a joint cracking in my spine. So that's a way that energy can be released as well. If you're just sitting there and all of a sudden you feel, a joint cracking, that's releasing energy. You may yawn. Yawning is another way of releasing energy. Burping is actually one that I do a lot when I'm
It's
working
interesting
through.
because I was burping and you were cracking.
Right.
It's work. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, exactly.
May have been playing, may have been sensing each other even.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, are there any other ways that come to mind for you that people tend to release?
Yeah, absolutely. Laughing.
Mm,
People will be kind of thrown off by that. I know somebody has said they're always laughing, like, what's this about? I'm going, that's a release too. Think about it. It's just right next to crying.
right.
We're laughing, we're using our belly, and the vagus nerve is being activated, right? And we're expressing through our voice, our throat, and crying is the same thing. When
Mhm.
you're about, and so that's often why I feel crying, we hear about joy, pain, when we're crying, it can be happy tears. I mean, it's so close, I'd say.
Mm.
So laughter would be another one. Yeah, burping. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think I've heard of people hiccuping, getting a
Mhm.
hiccup fit, any release like that. I mean, also urge to go to the bathroom is
Right.
not unusual. I've had clients say, I need to get off the table, and
Mhm.
so that's fine. Digestive gurgling is another thing that happens. People will be lying on the table and go, wow, my stomach is really noisy, and it's not because they just ate. I mean, they've been there for an hour. What's cooking here?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Beautiful. That's the thing. We experience it so differently. And um, the other thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned the Fibonacci series. Can you mention a little bit about solfeggio frequencies? Because I think that word has been kind of circulating a bit, and some people may know a little bit, but I'd like to kind of hear your opinion or how you may use them.
well, I I don't really have an opinion on that.
Mhm.
I would say the solfeggio is, I mean, somebody sought me out because they wanted solfeggio frequencies. I guess they read something that was caught their attention and saying that this would be helpful. Um, it's just a series of sequenced tones. So based on different mathematical equations, basically. I mean, Fibonacci series has, and again, I'm not a mathematician, has its own series, and the uh, the solfeggio has its own series, and that's what a lot of Western music is based on, is the solfeggio. My singing bowls are actually tuned to a frequency of the ones I have are 432, which is not the typical frequency um, for a lot of bowls. I mean, they're out there, but some people gravitate more to other frequencies. So, I mean, I just kind of tuned into what pulled to me, what called to me,
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
so
Because there
yeah.
is an intuitive component to it as well. And
It's
that's important to mention. Yeah.
Well, like I said, and I didn't actually talk about this earlier, is that, and I mentioned the strikers are different. This one has suede on it, and it kind of has a scratchy noise. And I remember somebody saying it really grated on them. It was not a comfortable sound. They didn't like it. So, I switched to the smoother striker that doesn't do that. So again, what's helpful for one person is aggravating for another. You
Mm,
can't
yeah.
do that.
Interesting. Right. And
Yeah.
so I know you have the radically I'm sorry, I'm messing up the name, the Radically Unbound, right? The Radically Unbound Retreat. And this is Sharon's freebie for all of us, for all of our listeners and our audience. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about it? I've had the pleasure of experiencing it myself, and I do highly recommend it. But would you be able to tell our audience a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Radically Unbound retreat was really intended for anybody who feels called to move something that feels stuck for them. It could be a specific situation or just in general feeling just stuck in life, maybe even just curious. And I basically have information about sound healing as part of that, and then an experience of the sound healing, and then some way to ground it for you. And so for the actual sound healing part of it, I am using singing bowls, and I also use some tuning forks. And I don't know anybody who does that combination particularly. When I was using the tuning forks, I was doing basically a group tuning, biofield tuning, and tapping into whatever energy presented itself. And as I recall, it was pretty much upper body. I could have gone anywhere, but that was where I was drawn. And so we were working in that realm, and whatever came to me at those moments, I did it live, I did it all at once. So it felt very intuitive for me. And so far, I've had some really wonderful responses. You're one of them. And yeah, I hope it's helpful to people. I feel like so many people don't know the benefits because they haven't experienced it. I find this work is very experiential. And so we can talk about it, and I enjoy talking about it, but we can talk about it till we're blue in the face and still not really know until we experience it. And there's a generational leap. I mean, there's some retired folks out here that may think this is all a bunch of hoo-ha, and then there's the younger folks that think it's interesting, but they don't have any interest in delving deep. Um, so we have all all kinds of people who are interested or not, or just curious. And I love doing on the body in person demos for people because that's when it starts to hit home, when people actually feel the vibration. And even virtual work, they'll feel the vibration. And that's the coolest part of the work I do. I always love it when they say, wow, just yesterday I had a client said they had got very hot, and I took that as an indication, well, that we were definitely burning through a lot of the trauma here that was stuck. And it happened in two very significant spots without getting into the details, of course. But it tied in beautifully with the work that they were doing. So they felt this very distinct temperature change, which is not unusual, but it's always cool when it happens. And then or people feel the vibration. But when I do the in-person demos, it's again, it's undeniable. People will feel, wow, that was a painful spot, and it's not painful anymore. I had an elderly woman come to me who could barely walk, and I just worked a little bit on the body. This is now not on the energy field. This is on the body with like the tuning fork, like I showed you with the, I think I had it, with the little boot pulsing on it. And I could pick up right away she wasn't very grounded, so I did quite a bit of work at her feet and worked up her legs, her shins, and she got up and she said, wow, I can walk without any pain.
Yeah.
We can delve into maybe how that happened, but there you are. I mean, and these are people who might be taking and were actually taking lots of medications to keep the pain under control, right?
Yeah, wonderful. And tell us a little bit about where you are and how people can work with you, because I know you do have virtual and in-person options as well.
Yeah, well, basically, they can contact me on Facebook or, my website at harmonysoundhealingwithsharon.com. And you can reach out. There's, email, you can text or call. There's various ways to get a hold of me. And definitely, I set up a sample session, basically a sample session. It's like 50% off, where we'll actually give you a full tuning if that's what you want, or if you want to just experience personalized, customized singing bowls, then you would just need to tell me that. Then we can do that, and you get an experience of it. So then you can decide: is it something you want to delve into deeper, or was that just did that scratch the itch enough?
Right. Wonderful. And where are you located again? I know it is in a beautiful location, but I forget the actual name.
Well, I'm on an island just north and west of Seattle. So yeah, I'm at Marrowstone. A lot of people don't know the name of it. We like to keep it a secret, but yeah, it's a great community, and yeah, like I say, I've got local clients, but I also do a lot of virtual. I've done virtual as far away as Australia and London, Egypt. Yeah, full
Very cool.
sessions. Yeah. And usually 5 sessions is minimal to get some movement, but I find more often than not more than five is great. Depends what you're working through. Again, if it's a deeply ingrained physical issue, it's probably going to be the last thing to change, because it's been there for a while, or we've had that buildup of all that energy that's been blocked. So I tell people to count on at least 5 sessions.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful talking about sound frequency and healing and learning more about you as well. And I always ask my guests if there was any one message that you wanted to leave our audience today.
Well, When I've done a lot of healing, my own personal work for decades, and I have to say, the light bulb really went on when I was exposed to this work, sound healing in particular, biofield tuning in particular. And I realized that the majority of what I felt I had been dealing with was actually not mine. And it was ancestral, generational traumas that had built up, and that I had kind of been the receptacle for that. And I think it's incumbent on all of us to do our own work as best as we can, because we don't want to continue down that path of perpetuating what was done, has been done to people over the generations. And I think that is something to consider, not just for our own well-being, but for the well-being of others and for our planet. I think that's the bottom line for why I do this work and why we might all do more of that.
Yeah, beautiful and very powerful. Absolutely. Thank you so much again for being on today, Sharon. It was an honor to speak with you and to learn more about this and help share the word and spread the word about different, again, modalities that people can use for healing for so many different things. And again, all the links and Sharon's contact information will be below in the show notes. So please do check out that Radically Unbound Retreat and all of her social media. Contact her if you feel called to do so. Experience it yourself, because really it is experiential. And once you feel it, there's no, then you can start putting words to it, I guess, or really feeling it essentially. Because again, like Sharon said, we can talk about it, but really having the experience is absolutely transformational. So I encourage everyone to try it out, see what they feel, and go ahead and share again in the comments if you have any insights or any experiences that you've had in the past that you'd like to share as well.
And I'd love to hear from people what their experience was.
Yes, absolutely. I will tag Sharon if anyone does comment in there. I will absolutely tag Sharon so she will see those comments as well. And I know actually Sharon also has a YouTube channel. I believe it is Harmony Sound Healing. So go ahead and subscribe there as well. And again, spread the knowledge, spread the love, and we will see you all on the next episode of the Radiant Health and Wellness Show. Till next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Radiant Health and Wellness Show. With deep gratitude and appreciation, I'm extending an invitation to you for the free Secrets to Radiant Health mini course, where I unveil the hidden keys to radiant health, wellness, and vitality by identifying and addressing your unique root causes. I also invite you to join us virtually or in person at our next live mini retreat. These links and all the links we mentioned in the show are listed below in the description and show notes. If you like this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please like, subscribe, leave a rating or a review, and please share this episode with others. Remember, your radiant health and wellness lies within when you work with your body as your ally.